Hey everybody, welcome back to the Mill Run in Western Maryland. Today I'm going to share with you some of my train show finds, and we're also going to discuss some things to look for when you're buying a locomotive at a train show. Hop on. So let's get started with this Bachmann 280 consolidation. Detail work on a locomotive like this is kind of one of the first things that I start looking at. I'm checking to make sure that the handrails are in place, that the bell isn't broken off, that it's not missing any of its piping or plumbing. This locomotive was DCC with sound, so I'm checking the wires between the tender and the locomotive. A locomotive with the level of detail as this, you're going to want to look at your valve gear. You want to make sure that nothing's missing, nothing's jammed or broken. Always check the cleanliness of the wheels to get an idea what kind of work the locomotive is going to need. Now, if there's a test track available at a show, always test a locomotive before you buy it. I've never seen a vendor that won't let you do that. This one tested good. I had forward and reverse motions, had all the sound, and the headlight worked. So let's look at something a little older. This is an old 060 Mantua. Now, this locomotive has the old two-pole style motor in it. These things are fine when they're in good working order, but if they start to wear, there's some serious performance issues. I'm not a big fan of them. So that was an automatic turn off of this thing. Well, aside from the condition, it's good to understand what some of these locomotives have to offer or don't have to offer. Where this locomotive had a working smoke unit in it, it does not have a working headlight, which was kind of deterrent. This engine has a die-cast boiler, which adds weight, which would increase traction. Let's talk drivetrain. So on these older locomotives, things you want to look for is like the main bull gear there in the center. These can get stripped, they can be heavily worn, they can get cracked or missing teeth. If you're missing a tooth, you're replacing a gear. And this thing becomes a very expensive project at that point. You want to make sure that the condition of your wheels, yet again, that gives you an idea of what kind of maintenance this locomotive is going to need. And on a lot of these older locomotives, the wheels on your tenders, they are pickups as well. That's what the wire is that goes between the tender and the locomotive here. You're going to want to check your mounting hardware underneath, the screws. Make sure that they're all in place, nothing's missing, and that everything looks factory. This is a train show find where looks can be deceiving. Outwardly, this locomotive looked to be in fantastic shape. All the detail work was there. The handrails, the headlight, the bell, the smokestack, which for this particular model, for some reason, is something that's always broken off. I bought this at a tent sale and there was no test track, but I was fairly confident that it was going to be in pretty good shape, and if it wasn't, I could fix it. Underneath this locomotive is the hidden story. So the bull gear, you can see just slightly here that on the outsides of the bull gear it's high and in the center it's low, so it's kind of have like a moon shape there. Where this locomotive's worm gear was not properly meshed with the bull gear. Because of the style of this locomotive, you could adjust the tension the motor has on the bull gear, and it was not properly done, and it caused some major wear on the bull gear. So I had to do some shim work to get this thing to operate to where it would at least run. It doesn't do the greatest, honestly. Had I seen this before I bought it, I probably still would have bought it, because I was looking for this locomotive for my collection and it was a good deal. But this is something you're going to want to look for. Had I seen this on the locomotive we talked about previously, the 060, I probably would not have bought it. This is Proto Lifelike's model of the Western Maryland FA unit number 304. It's the only FA unit that the Western Maryland painted in the circus scheme, which is why I wanted it for my collection. Now, this locomotive doesn't necessarily have something you have to look for, but it has something you have to listen for. The Proto Lifelike diesels had a problem with the axle drive gears. They would get a crack at them and would cause the locomotive to maybe skip beat in a way. They make a thumping noise. It's pretty significant. You can hear it here in this clip. Now, if this is not repaired and properly addressed, eventually, even though the locomotive runs, it will cause further damage, maybe even beyond repair. Now, there is an axle set available for these. I'll put it in the description below. Something to keep in mind, because if you're paying $40 for this locomotive and it has this issue, you're spending at least $20 more to buy the axles, and then you have to tear it apart and fix it. So that's more time and effort. You've got a $40 locomotive that's become a $60 locomotive, and you have time invested. Now, I don't want to insult anybody's intelligence, and I don't mean that at all when I just go over our next point. But if you're new to the hobby and you're looking at a train show and you come across a deal that just seems too good to be true on a locomotive, then it probably is. And that's probably because the locomotive is a dummy unit. Now, most vendors will note that the locomotive is a dummy unit, but maybe they just think you know what you're looking at. Now, a dummy unit is a locomotive with no motor. You have 3 wheels. It is basically a freight car that looks like a locomotive. Key things to keep in mind and look for: most of them have plastic wheels. You have to have metal wheels to have power to them, and furthermore, they are extremely light because there's no motor. So this is just a quick condensed video of some things to look for on locomotives, especially the older ones, because you're going to find a lot of older locomotives at a train show. Now, this isn't everything. What are things that you look for? Please put them in the comments below. And I just want to encourage you. You're going to make a mistake. You're going to buy a doozy. You're going to get a lemon. Alright? It's happened to me, I don't know how many times. But you know something? I've always been able to come out of that experience with a little bit more knowledge to know what to look for next time. Now, do I need another locomotive? Probably like I need a hole in the head. But again, I know what I'm looking for, and I can show people like Joe, who desperately needs help. I can tell him what he's looking for as he's starting out in model railroading. You can do that too through your experience in buying things at train shows. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that bell icon, and please like this video. It's very encouraging to see your likes, and I really appreciate everybody for watching. Until next time, I'm Chris with the Mill Run in Western Maryland. Thank you for watching.